And we're back.
What?
In an effort to eliminate the tears and snot bubble noses, we're going to go over some of these problems. As I've said moments ago, you are going to have to do this tomorrow, because we need to move on next week to multiplying and dividing of fractions and whole numbers. So you need to know how to do this tomorrow. So if you are still confused at the end of class today, it's a great idea for you to watch these videos tonight. Since your lovely teacher does not give homework, which it would seem like he does because a bunch of you have missing work, which makes no sense, it's important for you to work well in class. Gives you an opportunity to study. Now, in order to add or subtract fractions, we're going to need to find the least common denominator. We're going to need to find equivalent fractions using those denominators. And we're going to need to find the greatest common factor. Those are the three things we need to do. So hopefully you're with me, watching, paying attention, hanging on my every word. This is adding and subtracting fractions on November 8th, 2017, Part 2, the sequel. Bigger, badder, and better than ever. So the first thing we need to do is find the least common denominator. Okay. The least common denominator. Kayla. I just hate it when he calls on me. Kayla, what are my denominators in this problem? 3 and 5. And finding our least common denominators, Kayla, we just kind of count by those numbers until we find the first number that shows up in both rows. So let's count by some threes for me for a little bit.
26, 9, 12, 15, 20,
18, good. Count by fives for me.
10, 15.
Boom! Shakalaka! 15 is my least common denominator. That is the first number that appears in both. So I need to change both of these fractions into an equivalent fraction that has a denominator of 15. So I need to multiply both of these fractions by a fraction that equals 1. Kayla, how do you know if a fraction equals 1? Good. It has the same numerator as denominator. A fraction that equals 1 has the same numerator as denominator. It does, Alec. It does. Division might be 1. You could write down for your list. All right, so now Kayla. Now I need to find the numerator for this fraction. To do that, I need to find 5 times what gives me 15? 3. So, and since my fraction has to be 1, and I need 5 times 3 to equal 15, I have to make it 3 over 3. So what would my numerator here be? Kayla? 3 times 3 is? 9. Now, Kayla, I need to multiply 3 by something that equals 15. What would that be? 5. Because 3 times 5 equals 15. I have to put 5 as my numerator. So then I just multiply straight across. 1 times 5 is? Kayla? 5. Now, really important is that we identify the sign. I need to realize this is an addition sign, because if you look at the problems on that page, some of them are subtraction. So if you don't pay close attention, you're going to get the wrong sign. Now, Kayla, you told me yesterday that when you're adding fractions and they have a common denominator, that denominator remains the same. So, Kayla, what? The numerator, you just add the two numerators together. So, Kayla, what's 9? What is the sum of 9 and 5? 14. So now we have found the least common denominator of the two fractions. We have changed them into equivalent fractions using that least common denominator. We have found the sum of 9/15 and 5/15. Now we need to use the greatest common factor to see if we can simplify this fraction, which I'm going to tell you right now you can't, because anytime the numerator and denominator are within 1, you're not going to be able to simplify it. But we're going to check anyway, because I know you guys are diligently writing these notes down. So tomorrow when you're told, do it on your own, you're not going to go lip quiver. Kayla, what are the factors of 7? Of 14. I just told you one of them.
7.
Good. 1 and 14, 7 and 7 times. Good. 1 times 14, 7 times 2. Is that number prime or composite, Kayla? Good. It's composite because it has more than 2 factors. The factors of 15, Kayla? 1 and 15. 3 and 5. Nothing else. Good job. Prime or composite? Good. Composite because it has more than 2 factors. What do they have in common, Kayla?
1.
They have a 1 in common. What else? Nothing else in common. Good. So our greatest common factor is 1. If our greatest common factor is 1, this fraction is in simplest form. That would be my answer.
Wait, if they had like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 15 in common, would that be?
Then you would divide your greatest common factor into both your numerator and denominator. We'll work one of those.
Okay.
But the steps Kayla told us to do. And tomorrow Kayla will be a wonderful resource because she knocked this problem out of the park. Least common denominator. She identified the 2 denominators, found the least common denominator, changed them to equivalent fractions with that common denominator, added the numerators, kept it over the denominator, found the greatest common factor, and she didn't have to simplify. Right, Kayla?
Right.
You are a superstar. That is what you are. Let's look at one more. I don't care. Let's do a subtraction one. 5/7 subtract 2/3. 5/7 subtract 2/3. 5/7 subtract 2/3. What is our first step, Kristen? I don't know. Whichever one that says 5/7 subtract 2/3. I don't care which one it is. What's our first step? Awesome. He can tell from the notes he wrote down on Kayla's problem that he'll refer back to tomorrow that the first step is to find the least common denominator of 7 and 3. Now, fortunately, his really ugly math teacher allows him to use his multiplication chart. So, Kristen, get your multiplication chart out for me. All right, count by sevens for me, Kristen. All right, let's stop there. Let's count by threes for me. Good, right here, look, Kristen. 21 is our least common denominator. Then I need to change each of these, making them equivalent fractions that have a denominator of 21. Kristen, are either one of these have a denominator of 21 yet? Get that, please, Elijah.
You got it.
Good, they do not. These do not. So I need to multiply. They're going to ask where Miss Davis is and just say that she's... Oh, man. Just a minute.
Upstairs in the computer lab.
Is that all they needed?
Yeah.
I knew it. I knew it.
You're smart.
Actually, I just heard her phone ring. Context clues. All right, so Kristen, 7 times what gives us 21? Yes. 3. So I need to multiply this by 3/3. I need to multiply this by 3/3. So Kristen, 5 times 3 is? 15. Awesome sauce. Kristen, 3 times what gives me 21? 7. So I multiply these both by 7. Good job. 2 times. Oh, good job. He already knew what I was going to ask. He already knew. So you got what? 29 over 21? Is that right, Logan? It is? No, it's not. We got to pay attention to our sign. That's what Mr. McMurdo was talking about earlier. Pay attention to our sign. This is a subtraction problem. I'm sorry, Mr. McMurdo. I didn't know that we were doing a subtraction problem because I wasn't watching. It's not my fault I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, it is.
Our denominator stays the same. Kristen, 15 minus 14 is 1. If your numerator is 1, you cannot, and I mean cannot, simplify that fraction.
Well, you can divide by
Just to check it, I could find my factors for 1 and 21. I could see what they have in common. 1 times 1, let's see, 1 times 21, 3 times 7. The only thing they have in common is 1. So if I divided these both by 1, I would still end up with 1/21. I'm not sure if you say 21ths or 21sts.
21st.
Thank you. Good job.
Are we done now? No.
You've never been dumb, Elijah. So don't ask me if we're dumb now.
I said, are we done?
Oh, done.
I'm not done now.
All right, so Ava has been asking me repeatedly for one where she can simplify. So that would be 5/30. Let's do 3/10 plus 1/6. And since Ava demands it, Ava gets to help. So Ava, can I add these two fractions like they're currently written? What do I need to do, Ava?
Just get the denominators.
Good. I need to find the least common denominator 4, 10, and 6. You know what that is, Ava? What is it?
No, wait, 10.
Okay, count by tens for me.
10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60.
Okay, let's stop there. 40. Count by sixes for me.
6, 12, 18, 24,
30. Boom shakalaka! That's our common denominator. So we change this so that it has a denominator of 30. With me so far, Ava? Awesome. Awesome. Now, Ava, neither one of these have a denominator of 30 already, so I have to change them to an equivalent fraction with something over 30 so that then we can add them because they have a common denominator. So 3/10. What do I multiply by up here? 3/3. Awesome. And I get 9/30. So 3/10 and 9/30 are the same thing. So it would be like Mia throwing rocks at Ava and I, and she throws 30 at Ava and hits her 9 times, and she throws 10 at me and hits me 3 times. That is the same percentage.
Of damage.
Well, not the same damage because she actually got hit more, but the same percent. I got hit 30% of the time, and she got hit 30% of the time. But with Mia, we probably wouldn't get hit at all. I've seen her throw. All right, what do I multiply by here? Ava?
I gotta get my pencil.
By who? Good, 5/5. And what is my numerator there? 5, because 1 times 5 is 5. I go over and I check so that I don't make silly mistakes. I see that this is an addition problem. Ava, the denominator stays the same. Good.
How do you know it's just added to the
Because I looked at the sign on the problem. The sign on the problem said 3/10 plus 1/6.
Oh.
That's how I knew. Or wait a minute. Sometimes the problems speak to me.
Weird.
Ava, they told me that this is an addition problem. 14/30. Now, we need to see whether or not we can simplify this fraction. So we do the greatest common factor of 14 and 30. Do you know my factors of 14, Ava? Good. 1 and 14. What else? Good. 2 and 7. What else? You're right. No more. And, okay, stop. Slow down. 30 is good. 1 and 30. 2 and 15.
5 and 6.
3 and 10. 5 and 6. Gosh, stop yelling all the time. I know you know the answers. Don't yell them out. What do they have in common, Ava?
1,
They have a 1 in common. Please stay with me.
2.
They have a 2 in common. Please stay with me. That is it. Therefore, my greatest common factor is 2. I take my greatest common factor. I divide both my numerator and denominator by that greatest common factor. So, Ava, what is 14 divided by 2? 14 divided by 2 equals 7. And 30 divided by 2 equals 15. This would be my answer in simplest form. Now, some of you have yet to finish the pirate paper. If you have not, you get home and you're completely stuck. You don't, and you look at your notes and you don't get it. I don't mind being FaceTimed. I want it turned in tomorrow. But if you FaceTime me and I say, where are your notes? And you can't show me the notes, I'm going to be very upset and probably cry.
Will you hang up? How will we think?
With like a phone, maybe?
You mean like the numbers
Boom, chocolate.
It's up there. Boom. Shakalaka. Peace out. Love ya. God bless. Do something kind.